7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Wednesday, November 5th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center, coming after an election evening, a historic night for the Democrats. Is it a blue wave? Is it a socialist wave? As New York City elects a socialist, Mamdani, he wins big last night. Is that the future of the Democrat Party? I think so. I've talked to the Democrat Socialists of America. I've had them on the program. They believe that last night was a mandate for the Democrats of America and Colorado to get more progressive, to get more socialist, and they think that's the future for this country. Is it a losing proposition? I do. I think it absolutely is. And it's going to be, the question is, how bad are things going to get and how quickly is that going to happen for hopefully the voters to wake up and go, you know, that thing that we keep trying over and over again in other countries and in cities here in America that doesn't work? Socialism. So let's go to the phone lines. I'd love to get your thoughts on what happened last night. Let's go to Grant in Conifer. Good morning, Grant. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Did we lose
Hello, Grant? Grant should be there. Hello, Grant.
Grant. Is Grant? Let's put Grant on hold. Let's go to Jim in Denver. Good morning, Jim. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I was just going to make a few comments. There's a lot of kind of bad news as far as the elections, how they went and stuff. There's a lot of different ways that, comment can go. I've noticed here in Denver a really big change just in people, and that's been going on for like about a year and a half. And kind of what I'm getting at, it just seems like as more socialism comes in and people's minds sort of get closed to what's going on with reality, just kind of weird just to what I've observed. I don't know how much you guys take the bus, maybe you don't, but every time you get on there, everybody's got a headphone on. And I never used to see that. And used to be, a lot of cell phones, which is bad too. In other words, what I'm getting at, there's really no conversation anymore. And as businesses get kind of more shut down, as far as your inner circle people you talk to, there's really no dialogue that goes on with these elections. And I've noticed as the non-socialist part kind of gets weaker, it just seems like people don't talk anymore. And like if you're on a bus, the only ones that might talk about politics might not have a headphone on. And what I'm getting at is how can you get out the word to tell people things aren't right? It's like if they want to close themselves off to the world, they don't want to discuss politics anymore. And they just want to live their life. And if we all go down, we'll talk about it in our own little small circle, and we don't need to actually express opinion anymore. And as they win more votes and become a little more draconian on what they do, we just get kind of swept under the rug. If you're non-liberal, you just don't count anymore.
Oh yeah, definitely in Colorado, you're getting sidelined more and more and more. Believe me, it's the probably leading social conservative voice in this state. I matter less and less. I understand that. But Jim, look at where we are as a country. We're more in debt. We're more taxed. You've had a 3,000% increase in fees that you pay in the state of Colorado. It's harder to get a home. It's harder to get a raise. It's more difficult to do these things. And we've had 10 years of Democrat rule in the state of Colorado.
Yeah.
Where does this road go in your mind?
Well, when I'll kind of bounce that question off other people. Like I say, the few people you can talk to, I've noticed every time I talk to them, and it's true, Medicaid and all that, it kind of sucked up the money, so there's not things for other programs to go on as far as Medicare and all that. And then what I'll say, well, it's terrible that we do have less, that we can't keep the gravy train kind of going. I might not use that strong a word, but and I'll say, well, so what's the president supposed to do? If he doesn't cut, we're all going to suffer. No one's going to get any more benefits. And I never get an answer from the people. You'd think that they'd be, oh yeah, well, he might try, but he's got his mind made up, and we don't agree. They don't either not talk about it, or they'll never come out and say, well, right, maybe he does need to cut back, so I can still hang on to my benefits. I never get a positive answer from anybody that I talk to. Even older people don't seem to talk about it much, middle age and all that. So, and then the other point I'll say kind of quickly is that you guys were talking about Madani, there in New York City. Do you see a real close parallel with what's going on with London? They elected an Arab leader, whatever the word they use for that.
Yeah.
And I don't know about, groceries and all that, socialist shops that are kind of like, nonprofit that operate. Did that increase over there? Or have they just kind of gone in an idle state where capitalism just isn't going anywhere? Because I haven't seen anything positive.
Yeah, I haven't been looking necessarily at London. I've been looking at some of the larger leadership there, and they have gone back and forth as far as their Liberal Party and what would be considered their Conservative Party. But also, Jim, keep in mind that their Conservative Party would be viewed as a Liberal Party here in America. Our Conservative Party, our Republicans, are viewed as much more conservative. Our Democrats are actually closer to their conservatives, just based on the political spectrum. And I appreciate what you're saying about people not talking anymore, Jim, and I appreciate the phone call. And we go back to when even Jeff and I were growing up, members of the other party in Congress would go to dinner with each other. They would socialize with each other outside. And this is a problem I have had with our politics for a couple of decades now, that we have turned it into our sports viewing, that you put on a jersey, you have to cheer for your team, and any possible relinquishing of any issue on your team is a loss and a win for somebody else. And we can't do that because the scoreboard matters tremendously, not the functioning of the government. And that's kind of my issue here is, and just to get on my soapbox just for a sec, one of the responsibilities we have for the people that we elected to go to Congress is to keep the government open. Neither party has the ability to do it right now, and they both stand there and go, well, the other people aren't letting me do it. The structure is that you're supposed to be forced to work together. Standing there and saying the other side doesn't let me is abdicating, in my mind, your responsibility and the functionality of what you're supposed to do. That's not how it was set up. Yet, we stand here and we cheer for the team. That's what I think part of the problem is.
Join the conversation, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Where are we going with all this? You have a government that's not open. You have a state that's completely run by Democrats. Doubled down, getting rid of moderate Republicans yesterday. High-functioning, quality, successful Republicans, people like Danielle Jurinsky and Robin Carnes, not hard right, but had proven to their constituents that they could lead well. Those folks are gone. Total Democrat control and progressive control of the Douglas County School Board. Jefferson County used to be swing county, now deep blue. Arapahoe County, swing county, now deep blue. Douglas County becoming more and more blue, electing a Democrat to the state house, now full Democrat progressive control of the school board. You are taxed more. The state is spending more on services. And how's life going for you? Voters of Colorado saying we want more Democrat leadership. What do you make of all of it? Join the conversation, 303-696-1971. Text us at 720-819-5115. Now it's time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Good morning. It is Wednesday, 35 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 69 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story.
Thank you to those so often forgotten by the politics of our city who made this movement their own. I speak of Yemeni bodega owners and Mexican abuelas, Senegalese taxi drivers and Uzbek nurses, Trinidadian line cooks and Ethiopian aunties. Yes, aunties. To every New Yorker in Kensington and Midwood and Hunts Point.
Oh, man, I didn't hear anything about patriotic New Yorkers in there. Commie Donnie wins the race for mayor in New York City using DJT's name to rile everyone up.
New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant.
Start spreading the news. I'm not leaving today. I'm going to wake up.
So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us.
Wow. All right, Scott Jennings on CNN.
People who own things, people who have businesses. He said an interesting quote, no problem too large for government to solve.
Or too small, important.
And so when you think of the world that way, that every problem, no matter how small or how large, is something for government to do, let me just decipher this for you. Tax increases as far as the eye can see, which means the people who need to provide jobs to the young people that you say need jobs are going to flee as quickly as they possibly can. I think this was a divisive speech, and he clearly sees the world in terms of the people who are oppressing you and the oppressed, and he said the oppressed are now in City Hall.
Yep.
You know, we got a good text message here, and it's so spot on. Look at how dependent we are right now.
Yes, absolutely.
Look at, I mean, to the point of LL and MM.
Mm-hmm.
We're dependent on the state for food.
Yes.
We're dependent on
incredible.
The state for our health care. We're dependent on the state for our education.
Mm-hmm.
We're dependent on the state for our housing.
Yeah.
We're dependent on the state for our food.
No doubt.
This should be heartbreaking at this point. To the average person that wants to live free of a dominant state or even a nanny state or a dependent state, how do you look at where we are and go, we're in a great place? Colorado's a great place. Yeah. It is more and more dependent on the state than ever before.
Yep.
For your food.
Exactly. To survive, food and water. But the water I can understand. The food, it's just breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Here we go. And you know what? If you go to New York City, they're already there, just like you're describing here. But they've been there for 25 years, 30 years. It's just pablum to make them feel even better. They got the evil one, DJT, and now they feel encouraged because now they have a leader who cares about them and will give them everything they need. That is okay, I'm gonna whisper, S-hole in New York City. Okay. My wife is from there. I got asshole. I don't need to see rats, okay? I see more rats in New York City than ever before. This place is not improving. It is not. I don't care what anybody says. And all the people with money are going to leave now. Unofficial results from last night show 5 lefties leading their races for spots on the council in Aurora. Rob Andrews and Allie Jackson are currently the top vote getters in the race for 2 at-large seats, with the great Danielle Jurinsky in third. Horton, Wiles, and Medina were also leading their races last night. 2 ballot measures that would provide funding for public school students, as Jeff and Billy were talking about earlier, to receive free meals appear poised to pass. More taxes for you. As the polls were closing Tuesday, 64% voted yes on LL, while almost 58% voted yes on MM. Democrat Abigail Spanberger won Virginia's governor's race, and Democrat Mikey Sherrill won the governor's race in New Jersey. DJT says that it is time to terminate the filibuster.
If you don't terminate the filibuster, you'll be in bad shape.
And that's amid the Schumer shutdown. He hosted Republican senators for breakfast this morning at the White House. Trump warned that no legislation will be passed for over 3 years if lawmakers don't end the filibuster. Day 36 today of the Schumer shutdown. Tragic UPS jet crash at Louisville's Muhammad Ali Airport Tuesday killed at least 9 people now. The crash sent a massive fireball into the air over the airport, and smoke from the fire lingered for hours. The MD-11 was loaded with some 38,000 gallons of fuel as it took off. The Supreme Court will hear arguments today over the legality of DJT's sweeping tariffs. The court's decision could have massive implications for American consumers and businesses, the economy, and presidential authority. Lightning and the Avalanche last night in Lodo, early second period.
Kenna just feeding him. Here comes Colton. He's got a break backhand. Score! Ross Colton. Vasilevsky kicks it into his own net, and the Avs have taken a 3-1 lead.
And they win it 3-2, the final. Dion's going to start freshman Julian Lewis at quarterback Saturday morning at West Virginia. How about his coaching staff? Has he made any adjustments?
I might already change it and you don't know. I don't do stuff and blow the whistles in and make major announcements. Hey, I don't do that kind of stuff. I do it and I let you guys still take shots. You don't even know you may be shooting at the wrong target. So some things take place that you may not be privy to.
At what point would we figure? At what point would they be changes that we do notice, though?
That's up to you to notice them. They may have already happened.
Okay, so now everyone's trying to find out if anyone's gone. See who is not there on the sidelines. 32 in Boulder, 34 in Greenwood Village, 35 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Pretty good looking November weather. It'll be a mix of high clouds and sun and very, very mild. We're going to be well up into the 70s today, 30s and low 40s tonight. A little bit cooler, sunny and a little breezier, 65 to 70 Wednesday, lower 40s Wednesday night. For Thursday, increasing high clouds, breezy, 60s, and a bit cooler for Friday and Saturday, 50s and 60s, as a couple of frontal systems will come through. But any moisture with these fronts at the end of the week and the start of the weekend will stay in the mountains and to our north. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show, talking last night's election results. One of the insightful text messages here that I agree with is that last night shows that Bennett is in real trouble for the primary. This is 6858. Mainstream Dems are cooked. And now we'll have a stew in what they've created. We'll have to stew in what they've created. Do you think Phil Weiser's got the wind at his back right now? He's embraced the kind of more antagonistic, confrontational approach to Trump, more DSA style of Democrats as opposed to the more kind of moderate. I put that in quotes because I don't think he really is, but compared to Phil Weiser, yeah, he is a moderate.
Well, I think that Weiser does have the wind in his back because he can point to, I have done fill in the blank. Whether or not you agree with it.
40 lawsuits against Trump.
But again, whether or not you agree with it, he does have an active verb. The problem with Bennett is there is no action verb. He has nothing to point to on his scoreboard, on his big, let's do a Phil Weiser thing. If we put Phil Weiser out there at the 16th Street Mall, like he did the whole, the advertisements and he'd do the whiteboard thing, and we put him next to Michael Bennett, what's Bennett going to point to as his successes? That's going to be a problem because Congress is a groupthink model. And unless you're out there making noise or leading the charge on something, you're part of a group, and in some cases, one of 400 votes or one of 100 votes. So you have only a smaller voice. So the idea is, what is it that Bennett's going to be able to point to say, I have shown the ability and leadership to do X, so put me there. That's the thing, is I think Colorado is going to look for that action verb. Whether or not it's right or wrong, that's what I think it's going to be. They're going to look for activity. And as dumb as I think it is that Phil Weiser has made, in my mind, the crown jewel of his time as the AG, suing the president when he disagrees with him, and messing up most of everything else, I think it's a real big indictment on what the Democrats have on the bench, and I think it's dumb, but it's worked for him so far.
And I think it'll continue to work.
Yeah, I think so too.
Let's go to the phone lines. Grant and Conifer. Grant, thank you for your patience. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Yeah, thanks, man. What's up?
Good morning, guys. I think that America needs to realize the level of Bolshevik revolution that we are currently sitting in. We've always been socialist since the 30s when they put everybody on the social programs. Now they have pushed the throttle forward to a point to where they have elected a foreign billionaire Muslimist to be the voice of themselves. And what they come up with will be irrelevant. That function alone itself screams out louder than anything else. And this is how this all starts. When you push social systems into a place of unaffordability, then the government is the next step for the savior. And this model has been used over and over and over again because our money system is fake. Nothing is more expensive. Our money is more useless. And they have got this train of leftist ideology that is funding this entire plot. And what will happen in New York City is they'll try to push some things around. They'll get the city council lined up as it needs to be. You will see a marketplace of 10 go to a marketplace of 2 because the government has now made contracts with the providers and suppliers and the highest level of commerce that you can possibly imagine. They don't care if the smaller ones fall off the table. This has always been the point. And you've got the Republican Party tearing itself in half or being torn in half by Israel right now. Whichever way you want to look at it, they are ripping this thing in two, and the Democrats have one purpose: full steam ahead, get the children, get your money, we'll get the government. And if you people aren't aware of this, you got a serious problem coming to your front door someday.
I was with you until Israel. Help me understand, Grant, what you said about Israel.
Well, Israel is the main focus of the Republicans right now, whether you're supporting them or questioning why the 2/3 of them are running our government.
I disagree with you on that, but I mean, I was with you up until then. But to the point that the Democrats have this plan, that it includes education and winning over your children at an early age, I think you're exactly right, Grant. I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Grant's line is open, 303-696-1971. I am a rock-ribbed conservative, and Israel is not a big part of my daily conversation. I'm more focused on the socialists that are happening right now, and I'm a big supporter of Israel, a Zionist. But there you go. All right. Join the conversation, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Let's talk Gyrie's. Oh, with whatever money we had left in the state of Colorado, I put towards blinds. I got some new blinds at Gyrie's. It was fantastic. They have an incredible selection of Hunter Douglas custom blinds, shades, and shutters. Look, I'm not a big home improvement guy. I don't really spend my weekends just knocking down walls or repainting or things like that. So I need help. And Guy Reese provided fantastic guidance for my wife and I, because my wife likes to ask lots of questions when we sit down. She is an attorney by trade, so she gets to all the details. And she was a contract attorney, so she likes the details. And they provided an incredible personal design consultant for us to answer all those questions, walked us through everything, helped us find the perfect options to enhance the look and functionality of our home. So whether your curtains are clashing or you just want a fresh look, Guy Reese has the solutions for you. Their designers are the experts, and they can help you with everything from window treatments to full room decor. Here's the best part. They offer a personalized in-home consultation. They come to you. They bring the paint samples. They bring the blind samples. You can see what it's going to look like in your home so you can make the best decision for your family. Get the same expert advice we got right in your own home. Do yourself a favor. Get started today. Visit GuyReese.com to schedule your in-home consultation. That's GUIRYS.com. GuyReese.com. Go see the great people at Guy Reese. You'll be sure to thank me. All right, we'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking last night's election results. Bill, I'm intrigued by just low voter turnout. For instance, in Douglas County, where everybody, is talking about important school board races, 44%. 40. Yeah. I obviously must live in a different universe. I understand that. Where like this stuff's really important. Like I can't imagine.
You and I live in a different
universe, imagine leaving a ballot on the kitchen table and just being like, meh. Like the differences are so stark when it comes to policy about where we're going, not only in our state, but in our communities, in our neighborhoods. Like, well, we're not like shades of gray. For instance, the Douglas County School Board, we had them on our show. Very different in their worldview.
Very different.
I mean, one woman couldn't even say, I don't want boys and girls sports. So the fact that over half of Douglas County voters were just like, not going to get around to it, when you have a whole month and you can just put it in the mailbox to vote. That's just crazy to me.
Yeah, and I do think also it is a reflection of the apathy inside the electorate, because at the core, they don't view government as working for them. And what I mean by that is the people in charge, given all the nice flowery language and all the concern, at the core, regardless of party, they don't see that concern necessarily reflected in behaviors, in policies, in other things. And part of that being the idea of, and I'm going to call out some of the Denver, the beautiful, vibrant bond thingy. Inside of that they are going to put themselves much more in debt. And if you would go down those items like a menu, where is that Native American Cultural Appreciation Center going to sit on that menu? Is that something, given a time that Denver is running a budget deficit right now and had to furlough people and not fill jobs, is that a loan you, the average voter, would advocate for taking out? I think that's part of the problem. And yes, the Denver voters did vote for it because they did the omnibus thing, where it's the entire big package thing of things. Yeah, so they did that. But then also think about it on a national scale. Think about it with our government shutdown. And both sides are complaining about all the pain that's happening. But do we hear either side sound even an iota concerned about getting these things solved and coming to the table to figure out the solution that will help their constituents? No. They are able to fundraise, to entrench themselves, and to send out all sorts of emails and try to set themselves up for the next election cycle. It's not about keeping the government open and making sure it works for the average American. It's about job security for them, because it allows them to fundraise and creates a messaging point for the next election cycle. So it reinforces not making the government work because it's job security for them. So why would the average voter care at that point? That's the problem. That's part of the apathy.
547,000 registered voters in the city of Denver, and 130,000 or so voted yesterday.
Yeah. Exactly. And in all honesty, that's also part of the reason that I somewhat push back on the idea of, Colorado necessarily becoming super, super, super socialist. I think in part we're getting the people that are active are becoming much more liberal, but those that aren't.
But Bill, why be a democracy in the first place? Like, so we're a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, and 4/5 of the people tune out?
Yeah. Now, oddly enough, it's because,
like, seriously, like, that's an indictment on the civics education, in my opinion. But goodness, like, what's the point of being a democracy if a big portion don't even participate?
Well, the issue to me is that if a big portion of the people don't participate, what is that saying about your democracy? That's what I would say.
I'm saying.
Yeah. So I would say, and that's, So what does it say about where you are?
Congratulations, we laid our blood down in this nation for your right to vote, to be the first nation in world history to be governed by the consent of the governed.
Yeah.
4/5 of you don't turn out.
Yeah. For me, it's a reflection of 4/5 of you saying that at the core, the government isn't there to be concerned about me. Despite all the fundraising emails and despite all the other speeches and all the ads we see on TV, at the core, 4/5 of the electorate is not convinced that regardless of party, and that's an important part of this, that those they're electing will actually, 1, care, 2, make their situation better. Because if they did, they'd probably pick up that ballot and vote.
7253 saying Douglas County election results are the direct result of lazy, comfortable, and completely disengaged Republican conservative voters when it comes to local elections. I have and will continue to blast the voters of this county. They're only engaged in presidential elections, completely lacking the ability to understand that local elections impact your life much more than federal elections. You're exactly right about that. And now that laziness and disengagement will cost our children as they bring pornographic books, DEI, and gender ideology into the schools. Congratulations, Douglas County Republicans. Continue to sit back and watch Fox News and your lazy boy and watch our country get taken over by engaged and energized extremists. All right, let's go to Brian in Arvada. Good morning, Brian. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, pretty depressing today, and it's just more of a theme of Colorado. I mean, if Doug Coe can't step it up and make some changes and just allow him to get steamrolled like that. I mean, if Janelle Janinsky can't win, I don't know who can win. You know what I mean? So it's just depressing. I don't know what the answer is. I've been racking my brain to figure out what the answer is for the Colorado GOP, but it's the apathy level is so high. I don't know how you get people re-engaged. The threats of what if we're communicating that effectively. I mean, I am with my children, but I don't know if we're doing that as a young electorate. But I don't have any answers. I think we're kind of doomed in this regard. I'm a Jeffco kid, grew up in Jeffco. I live in Jeffco now, and Jeffco's blue. But if you talk to people, my neighbors, most people I talk to, or in my community, they're not blue. They're like purplish, but more red. They don't want the all the transgender stuff. They don't want boys competing in girls' sports. I mean, it's common sense stuff. They don't want their taxes going up. They're struggling to make ends meet. But yet we're going to be paying for all this garbage. I don't know what the answer is. The Democrats, it's hard to compete with free stuff. It's hard to compete.
It's exactly right. Well, and then blaming the guy with the nice house and saying, well, he's the reason we have the problems. Meanwhile, we have a 3,000% increase in fees in the state of Colorado. But Brian, I go down and talk to these people. I've led lobbying teams down at the state capitol. I have fought just about every battle in the state. And the answer I give to people I talk to all the time in public, like you, Brian, is not the question, or it's not the answer that people really want to hear, because it's a long-term response, which is it comes down to education. Like when I go down and talk to these people at the Bernie Sanders rally, they genuinely believe in the communist worldview that there is oppressor and there's oppressed. That the reason why that people have wealth is because they oppressed other people. And so it becomes the government's job to step in on behalf of the oppressed and seize the wealth that those oppressors have and redistribute it to other people. And they believe Donald Trump's an oppressor. They believe Republicans are oppressors. And when I sit there and I go, like, how did you buy into this worldview? Like, why isn't it just individual responsibility for you to take care of your family and to go out there and try to make your own life better? Like, why are you so focused on the idea that there's an oppressor out there and that's the reason you aren't able to succeed in life? And I sit there and I go, it's 12 years of education. They've heard this in their schools.
And Jeff, it's brilliant. It's brilliant because I'm listening to Mondami last night, and I'm like inspired. I'm finding myself like, yeah, you come for one of us, you come for all of us. Like, listen to what he's saying, and I could see. I mean, look, I grew up in the '80s. I'm like you, Jeff. I grew up in the '80s, so USA. I'm a seasoned person, and I found myself wanting to listen to more, even though we know it's total commie rhetoric. You could see a young person just completely being enthralled by this because you have an enemy, you have an antagonist, and you have we're going to give you all this stuff and take it from these people. What message do Republicans have except work hard? And then what? And you'll succeed.
Brian, I got a question about
that
message about working hard. Is that message resonating with the average voter right now? Because that's part of my critique.
No.
And earlier on, I don't think it is either, Brian, because earlier on in my critique last hour, I talked about Generation X, my generation, being the first generation in America to not be able to achieve more and a higher living standard than our parents. And that's not a function of education. It's not because the education system turned out a bunch of socialist, communist, Marxist. These are full-blown damn adults that are in 40s, 50s, and 60s that are not going to be achieving more than their parents. And so when that isn't happening, it opens the conversation for, wait, I went to school. I got the degree. I went to work. I did my 40 hours a week. I put in my time. And now I'm not going to be able to afford to retire. And I am one major medical event from going bankrupt and possibly losing my house.
And look, Bill,
that's where we are.
I'm not discounting the problem. I understand
but
the problem.
Is that,
but
Bill?
You guys keep looking at the government and the fact you're more dependent on the government than at any point in American history. And you somehow don't see that as the problem. Bill, we're at a point where your food, your lunch comes from the government. And we go, the problem is we need more government. That's what's mind-blowing to me. Not the problem that we're in. The fact that we keep doubling down on the government to provide the solutions for us.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm in that situation too, Billy, where I worked hard. I got a degree. But I'm not fiscally sound right now. If something were to go wrong, I'm an event away from maybe losing my house. And me and my wife both work. I think it's taxation. I think it's immediately my property taxes went up a year and a half ago, $400 a month. Just like one day, my property taxes went up. That affects me, and that affected our whole budget. Sending my kids to private school, it affects our budget. But what's the answer? How did we get here? I'm not blaming anybody, and I don't want anybody to fix it for me. I'm just going to work harder. But the harder I work, the more money gets taken away from me for people who aren't working hard. I don't know how we convey that message out and get the voters out to turn this thing around. But Colorado's gone. If my wife wasn't tied into para, we'd be gone already. We got people living in Texas.
I think a lot of conservatives are leaving this state. Go ahead.
And I do. And here's the thing that's interesting on that, Brian, is it's the para that's holding you here, which is the retirement and pension program that we as Americans cut out of almost every other private institution. So all the other years ago, private employers would offer those type of same benefits. and you and your family are finding it so valuable and necessary that it's keeping you here.
It's dependency.
That's part of it.
It's dependency.
That's part of the idea.
Is fostering dependency.
Right. Billy, I think Para's broken, but my wife's tied into it.
Yeah.
And she wanted to be an educator from day one.
Yep.
So I think it's a broken system? Yes. Do I think, but, where I'm
going with that, though, is that if you had a similar retirement program from your private employer, there could be more flexibility inside of your budget and where you're going to go, because that could pick up and go with you to another state. Now, before we end the call, though, Brian, I want to know, we are going to hand you the Jeff and Bill magic wand. You are going to get control. You can change who's in charge. You can change messaging. What do you do inside of Colorado to stem the tide of us going more and more blue? What is it? Is it a policy? Is it a procedure? Does it have to do with messaging? Is it changing the Colorado GOP? Is it outlawing the Democrats? If I gave you the magic wand to do whatever you wanted, what is your advice? What's your plan?
I thought about this, Billy, and there isn't one. It would be to hypnotize all the Democrats so they could change their mind on their socialist policies.
I love you. That's fantastic, man. I don't know what I would do either, man. I'm seriously, if you gave me the wand right back, I have no idea what I'd do. Yeah. Good point, man.
I got nothing, and that's why we're lost. I mean, we're Portland. We're going to be Baltimore. We're going to be all these cities where children can't read, where welfare's all over the place. That's what we're going to be. And I mean, I don't know.
This is the doom loop of socialism right here. Okay, right. Because it's just the belief. It's just the belief that if we just had a little bit more of the tax dollars, those guys that have the nice homes, if we could just get a little bit more, then the programs that we need out there will finally kick in and everyone will live free. And it just never ends. That's the doom loop problem of it, is that it's never going to be enough. Look where we are, 10 years into Democrat control of the state of Colorado. Your kids need the government to provide lunch for them. All right, Brian, I appreciate the call.
Right, and I don't need my kids' lunch paid for, but look at where we are. We're done. I don't know what to do for this state, and we have such a beautiful state, and we're done. We're going to end up with druggies on the street shooting up in the streets.
They're already there. They're already there. And when Danielle Jurinsky tries to stop it, when Danielle Jurinsky tries to stop it, she loses. All right, Brian, I appreciate it. We're just up against the break. Now is time for a break, and then we'll get back. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Marie, you're up next. This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, we're going to talk with Senator Barb Kirkmeyer about what happened last night. She's a candidate for governor, so you're not going to want to miss that. Republican candidate for governor. I imagine all those candidates are waking up today going, oh boy, well, what does it look like next year for the state and for their races? Let's go to the phone lines. Marie in Denver. Good morning, Marie. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning. I was shocked last night with the results, and I am unaffiliated, but I do vote blue. But that's not why I called. I want to talk just very briefly about the history of how people could work hard and get a good life in earlier. And I'm talking about the greatest generation and the boomer generation, maybe the grandparents, the parents of the boomers. From 1940 to 1973, we had selective service. It was the draft. Every single 18-year-old signed up for the draft, and most were drafted. Wartime, peacetime, they served. And when they got out, they got something called the GI Bill. And the GI Bill paid for a full-ride college, tuition, room and board, everything. That was our gift to the men who served this country all that time. And then when they were ready to buy a house, they could get a VA loan, which was a real good deal. That was the middle class. That's how you could work hard and make it, because you got a leg up from the government. And I don't know how we could duplicate that today. But when we talk about how we got to where we are, I think it's very important to know about the GI Bill.
I appreciate that, Marie, and I think we also forget in the conversation, as uncomfortable as it is, the idea of giving a veteran a little box to check on their job application is also a form of DEI. That was an equity program that was started to give them a leg up.
You're absolutely right, and they're in the federal service. And again, Truman integrated the military in 1948. Now, there still was discrimination. Multiracial men and women still had problems, but they were entitled legally, and it was a good deal. I don't think we could afford it now. I don't know what we could do now, and I don't.
So that box was based upon performance and service.
Exactly.
But that's different than equity based upon skin color. But
it's not equity based upon skin color.
Right.
It's equity that takes into account that there was a time when people were denied.
You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
Sorry, Marie.